So I'll be just presenting a case where it's a relatively simple case, and I'll just try to stress you that at times, even in simple cases, sometimes even an experienced team can fail. This was a atrial septal defect. A case was being started by one of my colleagues, and he also handled the problem for quite sufficient length of time, and subsequently I had to enter it. So there's a atrial septal defect, secondum, and they tried to handle it, and there were some difficulties, and they got into something like a cobra head deformities. And finally, they were able to deliver the device with the help of a balloon. And the device was seating well. They checked it, it is stable. And then they released the device. Well, nobody will like to have the devices here. If you deliver a device, you would like the device to be there only. If it goes somewhere else, you don't like it. And often these kind of things can happen if the device is large and is unstable and you release it. But often we don't release the device if it is unstable. But a large device, especially if it is stable, after the release also, if it is looking stable, sometimes it can embolize. And we have seen even very small devices which are looking very, very stable can embolize. So embolization is a fact, hard fact and reality. And that is what happened to our case. The device got embolized and the team quickly got with the snare. And often it is a matter of minutes and the device is caught and taken out, and sometimes another device with the same device is delivered. So this device was caught, and the operator tried to get it back into the sheath, only to realize that it is not getting into the sheath. And they thought probably that the snare has not really caught it well. So next time they tried to apply a little more force, and this is what they caught the device again with the. And then you see a lot of force is being applied. It is getting stuck at the tricuspid well. More force, more force. The device is getting disfigured and detaches. So force is not working. Most likely what has happened was the snare was probably not very strong. So the snare was changed to a snare and snare which slips less, and there is an interdigitation here which doesn't let the snare slip. It was used in this case. It easily caught the device, but again,
Vijay, can you speak a little closer to the mic? We can't hear you clearly.
Nothing clear, or is something clear? Is something clear now?
Yes, it is.
So the device is again caught with the end snare, which is very easy to go around with the device. Multiple loops are there, but it is thought to be very strong because of the interdigitation, not slip, but it used to slip many times. So we could not take the device within the sheath. The reason is if you catch a device from the pin is relatively weaker part and the device get detached. If the device is small and the sheath is bigger, usually you're able to catch the device and take it into the sheath, even if the device is small and the sheath is big. On the contrary, if the sheath is small and the device is big, then if you catch it from the pin, you will not be able to take it back into the sheath. So we thought, well, we should try to catch it from the screw. And for catching the screw, which was not facing the sheath, we'll have to go around. So we went around with the catheter, took the snare with the catheter. Now, rather than approaching the snare, we tried to pull the snare and then catch it. So we thought we are catching the screw, but on checking in different views, we thought what we got was a pin. And this is what always happens when we're using a single plane cath lab, because you really don't know whether you have gone around or you are still on the same plane. Well, we thought try with the pin. We tried and hard again the device slipped. So we thought let's go around again and change the angle. We went around again and now we tried to catch it and we caught something and we really don't know what we have caught, but luckily we got the screw. And again, as we are trying to take the device into the sheath, same thing is happening. We catch it, the strength is enough, but it is not able to get into the sheath and the device flows. And once the device is in the ventricle, sometimes the device may be very, very unstable. It might irritate the ventricle, and what all might happen is unstable rhythm and unstable hemodynamics. And at this time, the patient is usually very, very uncomfortable. So the first step is stabilize the device, and that is usually very easily done with the help of a forceps, which was done in this case. You see the rock stable device and the hemodynamics. And then we took another snare and went around to catch, and we caught the screw. And now we release the forceps, take the forceps back to make a room for the device to get into the sheath, but the device is refusing to get in. If you look at it, we try to manipulate, change angulations, and if you look at it, brute force, you said that the sheath is getting pulled down below the diaphragm. Now this was a braided sheath. In fact, my team, which was already working, they had already used a non-braided sheath. They had used 3 14 French sheath and there was none left, which was non-braided. And what they had also done was, like, if the device is not getting in, that is a usual practice is that you cut a bevel and bevel will increase the opening, which was done in this case. And if the opening is increased, you can easily take the device in. However, what I was left with was, because the non-braided sheaths were already consumed and they were kinked, The braided sheath, if you try to cut the bevel, what you get is you get very irregular and sharp margins, and this kind of a sheath is probably cannot be used in the intervesticle compartment. So we tried our luck with again a braided sheath and again a snare, and every time trying to get the pin. And we tried to change the lie of the device also. Multiple angulation were tried, and different permutation and combination were tried. And what was happening was either we were failing to catch, or if we are catching, we are failing to take the device within the sheath. Then we tried a technique in which we just tried to change the angulation with the help of the forceps. This is what we did. We changed the angulation. Now the pin is looking screw is looking downward. If you take anything out of the sheath, it can easily catch it. But what happens is, this kind of a position, even if it is made, it may not be strong enough position. The moment you try to push the snare, this will just try to deflect the device again. And what will happen is your pin will go up, and the screw will go up, and the pin will be down, and you will catch only the pin. So we kept on struggling, and finally we thought, let's now try second snare and try the so-called double snare technique. We took the snare around this, and we caught the pin with two snares and tried to change the angulation. Now you look at it, a lot of force is being applied, but what is happening is somehow we are not able to angulate the pin into the sheath. And what happens is, if you pull it further, despite two snares with lot of strength being there, the device will get detached, as happened here. So we thought, and now the moment the device goes to the ventricle, there's a lot of irritability, and again you'll have to resort to catching it with the forceps and stabilizing it. So we tried to go around in the lateral view, again changing different planes, and again trying to catch it, then from below. So finally, in the last 2.5 decades, I have never failed in retrieving a device. Never a patient has gone for emergency surgery. But I joined the team in between, and all what we used was different type of snares, like gooseneck snare as well as N snare here, and a forceps. We tried to catch it from both ends. See, the strength is weak, but pin is easy to get into the sheath because it's not very long. Strength is more, but it is difficult to get into the sheath. We beveled the sheath. We use a braided that is kink resistant sheath, and we also tried a double snare technique. And of course, we used a lot of maneuvers and a lot of patience. And what we didn't use was, or what we didn't have was a biplane cath lab. And I'm sure most of the places you don't have a biplane cath lab. But stupidly, what we didn't use was, which I didn't have access, was a large sheath. I'm sure if we had a large sheath, they think it would have been a matter of minutes. And often, if any device is lost anywhere, I usually feel confident that I should be able to take it out in 5-10 minutes. Here, I think a lot of time had elapsed. And but for a large sheath, I had rest of the things with me. And I failed. So this patient had to go for surgery. But I thought, let me give it a try. I went from above, went with the jugular approach, caught the screw, and then this was a good catch. Then I tried to align it. You can align by maneuvering. You can torque even the snare. I torqued it, aligned it well, and then try to pull it into the sheath. What I find is a lot of resistance. The reason is what you think you are aligned, you are not really aligned. Slight change in the angulation tells you that, well, you are not in the line. If you look at the screw is not in the same plane or in the same line as the sheath. That is what is a commonest mistake if you do not have a biplane cath lab. Then I thought, let me give a trial with the second snare technique, and I went around with on the first snare with the second snare. And this is a maneuver which I think most of the interventionists should learn, as to how to manage two snares. And finally, I was able to manage two snares and pull the device. And let me just give you a close look. If you look at it, these are two snares coming from above. This is the first snare which is catching the base of the screw, which is the distal snare. The proximal snare is catching the screw not from the base but from above, and it is always best to catch it as close to the tip as possible, and then pull this second snare. Do not pull the first snare. If you look at the second snare is taut and the first snare is loose. Now as you pull it further, this will go and get stuck at the opening. What is required is just release the first snare and pull the second snare. Now this will align, and after it is aligned, now you pull both the snares, as was done in this case. So I think for me, the so-called big boys, this big boy had nearly failed in this case, but for the last few moments, I think it was a failure, and I was also tired. I think for the first time I felt tired while trying to retrieve a device. But I think it was stupid on my part. And I feel that even a stable looking device can embolize, and which of course the chances you can decrease by a proper selection, but they can still embolize. If you have a biplane cath lab, I think there is no urgency in trying to start a case in a single plane cath lab. Take the patient to a biplane cath lab. And it is stupid to start a case with a sheath which is not large enough. I think you should have a sheath much larger than the sheath which is used to deliver the device. Let's say you delivered the device from a 14 or a 12 French sheath, have a 16 or 18 French. Otherwise, I don't believe that your task will be easy. You're likely to get stuck. Also, I think it is better to have more than one type of snare, just in case you require a double snare taking, and also have forceps. Sometimes your hemodynamics are very unstable the moment the device is irritating the right ventricle. And finally, one should always think of taking another route. We took in this case was a jugular route. Thank you very much.
Great case. Congratulations.
The next one, very good case, Dr. Trehan. The next one would be Dr. George Joseph. Let me invite him, and he always has some exemplary cases to show and a lot to learn from his cases. Dr. George, please.